So, in today's class, we are again going to discuss the next part of the transmission line modeling. So, in the previous lectures, we have covered that how to calculate the distributed series inductance, shunt capacitance, and series resistance of transmission lines. That is, the previous lectures we have seen that we have calculated the inductance, the capacitance, and the resistance per unit length. Now we can also think of a shunt conductance G per length. Okay, so each infinitesimal length dx of a transmission line consists of a series impedance Rdx plus j omega Ldx and the shunt admittance of Gdx plus j omega Cdx. So in this section, we will use these distributed parameters to develop the transmission line models used in power system analysis. So consider this infinitely long length transmission line. Basically, this study is we are doing it for the long transmission line. So, if we are having a long transmission line where we have taken we are having one voltage for a particular section as a plus minus V, and a current flowing through this section is current I. Okay, so units on Z and Y are the per unit length. Basically, this y dx and this z dx are your per unit lengths. Okay, these two are your per unit impedance and admittance of per unit length. Okay, so taking this small section, so let's consider this thing we are having. So the derivative of V and I relationship has been shown to you. We have taken one small section and the small voltage of dV, which is equal to I into x into dx. Similarly, the small current section has been taken, which is giving me v dx plus dv into y dx. Okay, this is small section. So we are taking the plus v plus dv and I plus di in this, and which is quite equivalent equal to v dx into y dx. We are neglecting this small section of the dv in this term. So the dvx by di equal to dx equal to z into ix, and dix upon dx is equal to v into vx. That means setting up the second order equation for this, we will again differentiate this first order equations for both these currents and voltages, and we can write this second order equation as d2 dx by dx square equal to z into dix by dx, which is equal to, when we will substitute this dix by dx in this equation. Okay, and we are getting this zy into dx. Similarly, we can also write it like this, that d2 vx by dx square minus zy into vx equal to 0. We have taken it into the left side. Now defining the propagation, what is the relationship between the vi relationship? Now defining the propagation constant gamma, gamma is been given by this equation that gamma is equal to under root of y into z, and it can also be written in the polar form, rectangular form as alpha plus j beta. where alpha is your attenuation constant and beta is your phase constant. So these are the two constant of the parameters of the transmission lines. Attenuation constant is the phase constant, and Z and Y are your per unit length, per unit impedance, and per unit admittance of the per unit length of the transmission. Now, if you write the general equation for the voltage, I can write it like this: that Vx is equal to K1 into e to the power gamma x plus K2 into e to the power minus gamma x, where gamma is your propagation constant. Okay, so this equation can be rewritten as Vx is equal to K1 and K1 plus K2 into e to the power gamma x plus e to the power minus gamma x by 2, and plus of K1 minus K2 e to the power minus e to the power gamma x minus of e to the power minus gamma x by 2. Now we are writing this K1 and K2, K1 plus K2 as K1 capital K1 and K21 minus K2 as capital K2. So since these are two constants, so this will also be the constant of. So I can rewrite this equation as Vx is equal to K1 into e to the power gamma x plus e to the power minus gamma x by 2 plus K2 into e to the power gamma x minus e to the power minus gamma x by 2. Now, how does this equation looks like? This is a nothing but a cos hyperbolic equations and sine hyperbolic equations. So cos hyperbolic equation is nothing but it is equal to e to the power x plus e to the power minus x upon 2. The similar equation has been used over here. That's why I can write that the voltage equation as K1 into cos hyperbolic gamma x plus cos hyperbolic K2 into sine hyperbolic gamma x. Now, what are these? The real part of the gamma x, the cos hyperbolic x and hyperbolic gamma x are your. These are the equation. These are the representation of these two functions. Okay. So if I do the differentiation of this cosine hyperbolic cosine formula, then I will be getting a gamma of sine hyperbolic gamma x. And similarly, if I will be differentiating this sine hyperbolic gamma x with respect to x, I will be getting it gamma into cos of hyperbolic gamma x. That means for a complex value gamma of x, it is equal to alpha plus j beta. And therefore, I can write it if I put this formula cos a plus b, I will be writing this cos hyperbolic gamma x as cos of alpha plus cos beta plus j sin alpha sin beta. Similarly, I will be applying the sin a plus b formula over here, and it will be equal to sin hyperbolic alpha cos beta plus j cos alpha into sin beta. So we have to see this that let's go through these equations. Okay, now look at this. Now you will need to do this. That how we have done this. Now make sure your calculator handles the sine hyperbolic and the cos hyperbolic complex numbers. If it is not, you have to use the upgraded versions of your scientific calculators. Okay, and I am leaving it for you to do it yourself. Now determining the line voltages. Now you know that the voltage along the line is determined based upon the current and voltage relationships at the terminals. Assuming we know V and I at one no end, say the the receiving end with the VR and IR where X is equal to 0. We can determine the constant K1 and K2, hence the voltage at any point on the line. So we can determine the constant K1 and K2 and hence the voltage at any point on the line. We will mostly be interested in the voltage and the current on the other sending end of the line. Therefore, the Vx will be equal to K1 cos hyperbolic x gamma x plus K2 sine hyperbolic gamma x, where V is 0. When we substitute the x equal to 0, then we will be getting x is equal to Vr as equal to K1 cos of hyperbolic 0 plus K2 sine hyperbolic 0. Since we know that the cos hyperbolic 0 is equal to 1 and sine hyperbolic 0 is 0, therefore we will be getting at Vr is equal to K1. Okay, and when we do the first order differentiation for this, we know that dx upon dx was coming to be z into ix. So when I substitute this equation of into this equation, zix is equal to k gamma sine hyperbolic k gamma sine hyperbolic this and this, I will be able to this. So basically, this is your first. This is the differentiation of cos hyperbolic, and this is the differentiation of sine hyperbolic. Okay, of this equation. Therefore, K2 is coming ZIR upon gamma is equal to, which is equal to IR into Z upon gamma. We have substituted the value of gamma is under root YC, and which is equal to IR into under root of Z upon Y. So this is the first one, which is equal to K2. So if we substitute this, we will be getting at Vx is equal to what? VR cos of hyperbolic gamma x plus IR ZC into sine of hyperbolic gamma. So this is what, this is your what? This is your ZC, which is called as characteristic impedance. Which is called as characteristic impedance. This is also called as surge impedance. Called as, which is also called as surge impedance. With some particular conditions. Okay, these two are not same, but they are being treated as same in some particular conditions. Okay, is this clear? So by similar reasoning, we can determine the current value Ix. So we have seen the current Ix is equal to IR cos hyperbolic gamma x plus VR upon ZC sine hyperbolic gamma x, where x is the distance along the line from the receiving end. Okay, from the receiving end, not from the sending end, but it is the distance from the receiving end. So defining the transmission efficiency, we know that the neta, which is the efficiency factor, which is equal to P out upon P in. That is the real power output delivered to the real power input. That how much it is being fed into the transmission line. Therefore, if we assume that we are having a 765 kV transmission line with the receiving end voltage of 765 kV, which is line to line voltage, and the receiving end power of 2000 plus J 1000 MVA, where 2000 is your real power at the receiving end, and 1000 MVA is your 1000 is your reactive power. Okay, so therefore, if we calculate the Z, which is equal to 0.0201 plus J 0.535, which is coming to be how much? 0.535 angle 87.8 degree ohm per mile. Similarly, the admittance is being also been calculated, which is equal to 7.75 into 10 to the power minus 6 angle 90.0 degree Siemens per mile. Therefore, the propagation constant, the gamma will be equal to under root z into y, because this is your per mile, or we can say the per kilometer per unit length of the transmission line, which is coming to be 2.036 into 10 to the power minus 3 angle 88.9 degree per mile. And if I calculate the characteristic impedance, that is coming to be under root z upon y, which is giving me what? 262.7 angle minus 1.1 degree ohm. Okay, so in this way we have calculated the gamma and the ZC. Now we know that if we calculate the VR and IR for this particular case, then how to do this? We will be using the single phase power, then the line to neutral voltages. Okay, it is very easy to do the calculation in that case if we will be considering the single phase power and a balanced system. Therefore, your VR will be equal to 765 by root 3, which is equal to 441.7 angle 0 degree kV. And IR is equal to 2000 plus J 1000. Okay, that is the S upon 3 VL. Okay, VLN, that is the line to neutral voltage. This is your line to neutral voltage, and this is your S by V conjugate. So we are calculating the current as also in this. Now, when I substitute the Vx, when I substitute these two values in the formula which we have derived, that is Vx is equal to Vr cos of hyperbolic gamma x plus IR ZC sin hyperbolic gamma x. So when I substitute these values in this equation, this is point. Don't get confused. This is not comma. These are the points. It is a typing mistake. So 441.700, and it is 443.440. Okay, so when I substitute these, I will be getting that Vx is equal to how much? Okay, when we calculate it, I will be getting the value. You do it with your calculator. Let me show it to you. Okay, when I plot these, the squares and the crosses, the real and reactive power flow, where the positive values of flow means from left to towards to the left. Okay, so now look at this. Look at this. This was your 2000 was your reactive power demand or real power demand. That is the power injected into the line, and how much was this 1000 was your this 1000 over here. This 1000 was your receiving this real power demand. So as you can see, the voltage, this is the voltage, this is the voltage in kV, and this is the reactive power in MVR, and this is the real power. Okay, so the real power is almost tries to be constant, but the voltage is consistently changing. When we increase the reactive power with real power, the react and the voltage, the reactive power reduces. But after reducing some point, the reactive power again increases and the voltage continues to reduce. Now let's consider a lossless transmission line. Now the lossless transmission line is the one which is having the characteristic impedance ZC, which is known as the surge impedance. I've told you that there is a small difference between the ZC and the surge impedance. That is, if we consider the lossless lines, then the characteristic impedance is called as a surge impedance. which is equal to the ZC is equal to J omega L upon J omega C, which is equal to L by C, a real value. Okay. So if a line is a lossless terminated with the impedance ZC, then your ZC will be equal to VR upon IR. Then your ZC will be become equal to VR upon IR. Therefore, your IR ZC will be equal to VR. Therefore, when we substitute this into the value which we have derived of the Vx and Ix, we will be getting that Vx is equal to how much? VR cos of hyperbolic gamma x plus IR ZC sine of hyperbolic gamma x. So, and I substituted this IR ZC is equal to VR. I will be taking the VR as a common and getting the cos hyperbolic gamma x plus sine hyperbolic gamma x. Similarly, if I calculate the current value for this transmission line length x, then I can write it the equation like IR cos of hyperbolic gamma x plus VR by ZC sine hyperbolic gamma x. Now this VR by ZC cos hyperbolic gamma x and VR by ZC sine hyperbolic gamma x can be rewritten into by taking the VR by ZC as a common factor and taking the cos hyperbolic gamma x plus sine hyperbolic gamma x. Therefore, in every location of x, this Vx upon Zx is common, is same, that is equal to Zc. That is, if we consider for a long length of transmission lines and that line is a completely lossless, then we can see for every location of x, okay, it doesn't matter whether it's a middle or whatever the location or coordinate of the location of the transmission line, the impedance will be appeared to be same. That is equal to your characteristic impedance, or in this case, it is called as a surge impedance, which is equal to Vx upon Ix. Okay. So, since the line is lossless, which implies that for every location x, the real power flow is constant. Therefore, the real power flow is equal to what? Real values of Vx into Ix conjugate, which is giving me Zc into Ix is mod square, which is what? The Zc is a constant, and for x is equal to 0, which is equal to Zc into I0 square. Therefore, for each value of x, this Ix is equal to what? IR, which is equal to IR. So if I substitute this, then I will be getting that Vx is equal to VR, and Vx is mod square upon Zc with the surge impedance loading. Surge impedance mode loading means the amount of real power which have been loaded over the system when the losses are in the transmission lines are 0. That is, it is a lossless transmission line. So if that means if the load P is greater than the surge impedance loading, the line consumes the reactive power. Otherwise, the line generates a reactive power. Okay. So if the surge impedance loading of the transmission line is more than the load power, then it will generate the reactive power. And if it is less than the real power, it will consume the VARs or the reactive powers. So this is the importance of the analysis of the lossless transmission lines, where we need to understand that how the values are being considered. Now look at this, the transmission matrix modeling. Till now we have seen the modeling of the transmission lines by for the short, medium and long transmission lines, and we have also seen how to calculate the inductance, capacitance, resistance, conductance for the long and for the lumped and the distributed parameters. Now it's the time to understand that how the matrix models have been created for the transmission line. So often we are only interested in the terminal characteristics of the transmission line. Therefore, we can model it as a black box. Consider this a two-port network. Consider this as a two-port network where the first is having the supply voltage with the current of Vs and the current of Is and Vs as the supply voltage. Similarly, at the another end of the port, it is the receiving end. The VR is the voltage and IR is the current. Now, it is quite resembles with the two-port network, except that in the two-port networks, this direction of current is in towards the black box. But in this case, we know that the transmission lines, the current cannot be in this direction. The load is connected at the receiving end. That's why the current direction will always be considered towards the receiving end. This is clear. So if you write this on Vs and Is, the matrix formulations for this transmission lines, we can write it like this: Vs, Is matrix is equal to A, B, C, D, and V and IR. These A, B, C, D, IR are determined from the general equations, noting that the Vs and Is corresponds to x equaling length of the line. Assumes the length of the line to be L. Okay, so when we substitute these values and utilize these values, we will be getting that the relationship or the voltage and current are used to solve the ABCD parameters. So similarly, if I write these, uh, if I compare these equations, the above matrix equation with the standard equations which we have derived in the previous slides, that is Vs is equal to VL, where X is what? Here X is equal to L. That is the length of the transmission line is considered to be now L. Therefore, your VR cos of hyperbolic gamma L plus ZCIR cos sine of hyperbolic gamma L. Similarly, the current equation can also be written like this: that it is equal to IR cos hyperbolic gamma L plus VR by ZC sine hyperbolic gamma L. Now, if we rewrite these, compare these parameters with the standard equations which we have just derived right now in the previous slides, the transmission matrix can be formed out in this way: that A is equal to what? Cos of hyperbolic gamma L. B is equal to ZC sine hyperbolic gamma L. C is what? It is equal to 1 by ZC sine hyperbolic gamma L, and D is equal to cos of hyperbolic gamma L. Your gamma is nothing but it is your propagation constant, which is equal to under root of Z into I. Now look at this equivalent circuit model. Now this is the circuit model which is another black box model. So we will try to represent as a pi equivalent circuit rather than by taking as a T equivalent network. So consider this pi model. In this, the VSIS and a VRIR are given to you, and your admittances are given. Shunt admittances are Y dash by 2 and Y dash by 2 are being at the two ports. So if you have gone through the basic concept of the control of the circuit analysis in the two port networks, then it will be very easy for you to understand the concept. So to do this, we will use the transmission matrix use values to derive the parameter Z dash and Y dash that matches the behavior of an equivalent circuit to that of the T matrix. Now we do this first by finding the relationship between the sending and receiving end quantities. How to do this? Let's see. Now the equivalent circuit parameters are being shown to you for the same diagram. We can write that if you apply the node analysis at this equation, I will be getting the Vs minus Vr upon Z dash. That means, let me show it to you. This is your node 1 having the voltage Vs, if we're taking it as a reference, and this is your Vr. So Vs minus Vr upon Z dash minus of VR into y dash by 2, which is equal to your IR. Okay. Therefore, your Vs will be equal to 1 plus z dash by 2 into VR plus of z dash into IR. Similarly, your Is will be equal to Vs into y dash by 2. This Is. Look at this. Is is equal to what? The current in this direction and in this direction. So it is what? Vs into y dash by 2 plus Vr into y dash by 2 plus of IR. So this current is what? This, so for an example, Is is equal to what? Is is equal to what? This plus this, and this is equal to what? This plus this. So I am adding this current, and this current ultimately. Is this clear? So if I write this, solve this, I will be getting that Is is equal to y dash into 1 plus z dash y dash on 4 into Vr plus of 1 plus z dash y dash by 2 into IR. Therefore, if I write the matrix as we have done in the previous slides, I can write it that VSIS matrix is equal to this T matrix into VRIR. This T is the transmission matrix, and if I compare these matrix with the ABCD constant parameter matrix, I will be getting that this term is coming to be equal to A, this term is coming to be equal to B, this is equal to C, and this is equal to D. Okay. So we need to solve the values for z dash and y dash, solving for these z dash using B element, which is coming to be how much? Your B was equal to zc into sine hyperbolic gamma L, which is coming to be z dash. And using this A is what's coming, A was what? This one. So which is coming to be this one. Okay. So y dash by 2 will be equal to cos of hyperbolic gamma L minus 1 upon zc sine of hyperbolic gamma L, which is nothing but it is equal to 1 by zc tan hyperbolic gamma L by 2. Okay. Now the simplified parameters for the previous equations can be write that if you write the z dash and y dash by 2, I can write the z dash will be equal to what? Zc into sine hyperbolic gamma L, which we have just derived in the previous. So when I substitute these values, Zc, it is equal to how much? ZL into ZL upon YL into ZL. So the ZL will be cancelled out, only the Z will be remaining, which is equal to Z into sine hyperbolic gamma L upon YL, with Z is equal to ZL, recalling Y gamma is equal to under root of ZY. Therefore, now y dash by 2 will be also be calculated by 1 by zc tan of hyperbolic gamma L by 2, which is giving me what? Gamma YL into YL upon ZL into YL into tan hyperbolic gamma L by 2. So it can be written as y by 2 tan hyperbolic gamma L by 2 upon gamma L by 2. So in this way, we have calculated the transmission line model parameter Z dash and y dash by 2 for the pi circuit only. This is not valid for the T circuit. Remember, for the T circuit analysis, we have to do the different modeling, and we cannot convert the pi model and T model equivalent models just by using the as we have done in the circuit. No, it is that will be a wrong practice. It cannot be, and although it will not be same, it will not be same forever. Okay, that's why we cannot convert the pi model into the equivalent T model in this case, in the transmission line case, in the power system analysis. I hope this is clear to you. So therefore, for a medium lines, we make the following approximations. That is, if z dash equal to z and y dash by 2 is equal to y by z, y by 2. Okay, where the hyperbolic terminologies are being considered most equivalent to 1. Now look at this table given below as you can see, as the length of the transmission line increases from 50 miles to 200 miles, we can see that your impedance your impedance is reducing. Okay, whereas your admittance is increasing. That means your admittance, shunt admittance, or the we can say it is the shunt capacitance is increasing, but your impedance is quite reducing. Okay. Now we know that there are three models for a transmission line. One is the long model, model, and the short model. So the long models are those transmission lines who are having the length more than 150 kilometers or 200 miles. Similarly, the medium line models are those line models which are between from 80 to 150 miles. And similarly, the short line 80 to 150 kilometer or 50 to 200 miles. So the short medium transmission lines are below the 80 kilometers are called as the short transmission lines, or in miles we are getting 50 miles. So use the Z in. So if what kind of a model we are using for the analysis, we will be using the Z dash and Y Z accordingly. Now look at this short transmission lines. You will be using only the impedance, and admittance is assumed to be zero. They are not assumed to be zero, but they are very negligible. That their effect is not considered, cannot is able to not to be considered. That means you can neglect the admittance in the short transmission lines. Whereas in the medium length transmission lines, whereas in a medium length transmission lines, your Z and Y by 2 are considered. Y dash Y2 into VR plus of Z dash into IR. Similarly, your IS will be equal to VS into Y dash by 2. This IS. Look at this. IS is equal to what? The current in this direction and in this direction. So it is what? VS into Y dash by 2 plus VR into Y dash by 2 plus of IR. So this current is what? This. So for an example, IS is equal to what? IS is equal to what? This plus this, and this is equal to what? This plus this. So I am adding this current, and this current ultimately. Is this clear? So if I write this, solve this, I will be getting that IS is equal to Y dash into 1 plus Z dash Y dash on 4 into VR plus of 1 plus Z dash Y dash by 2 into IR. Therefore, if I write the matrix as we have done in the previous slides, I can write it that VSIS matrix is equal to this T matrix into VRIR. This T is the transmission matrix, and if I compare these matrix with the ABCD constant parameter matrix, I will be getting that this term is coming to be equal to A, this term is coming to be equal to B, this is equal to C, and this is equal to D. Okay. So we need to solve the values for Z dash and Y dash, solving for these Z dash using B element, which is coming to be how much? Your B was equal to ZC into sine hyperbolic gamma L, which is coming to be Z dash. And using this A is what's coming, A was what? This one. So which is coming to be this one. Okay. So Y dash by 2 will be equal to cos of hyperbolic gamma L minus 1 upon ZC sine of hyperbolic gamma L, which is nothing but it is equal to 1 by ZC tan hyperbolic gamma L by 2. Okay. The very first question is the volume of copper required in case of three-ways two-wire system is how many times to that of the two-wire DC system. Next question is how is the voltage and frequency controlled in automatic generation control. Now I've told you the voltage and frequency, these are the two separate entities. Okay, so how these are being controlled in automatic generation control? By controlling the excitation, by controlling the turbine action, turbine speed controls for voltage and excitation control for frequency. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. So excitation control for the voltage and turbine speed for the. This is also wrong, I think. No, this is also wrong. None of the above. The speed control for frequency. Over here, it must become overhead frequency. Okay, then it is correct. Next is, which among the following curves represent the heat rate curves? Yes, tell me. Which among the following represents the heat rate curve? Only A, only B, only C. The correct option is only B. This is your heat rate curve. What is the unit of transmission loss coefficients? Yes, tell me. It is megawatt per megawatt, unit less, or megawatt square? It is per megawatt. How many? What is the loss per megawatt? Okay, that is the coefficient. Next is, what will be the penalty factor for a unit and if the generating station is located very close to the load center? Penalty factor is almost equal to what? It is equal to 0. Is it equal to unity, or the penalty factor is negative, or value is very high? It is almost equal to unity. So it is that the lambda is almost equal to 1 in this case. So which among the following curves represents the incremental fuel rate curve? Yes, tell me the answer. This curve is look at this curve. It is consistently linearly increasing. Okay, so it cannot be 1. Next is, it is increasing startingly, then it is coming to the, so output megawatt cannot be uh, this like the fuel rate curve. Now that is the fuel rate curve is like that. The fuel is increasing consistently, and then we are getting the output megawatt like this. No, the correct option is answer C. This one. As the fuel rate curve is increasing, the output megawatt is also increasing, and then after some limits, the output is limited. Okay. Next is, which the use of high speed circuit breakers, which among the following stability is increased? Yes, with the use of high speed circuit breakers, the transient stability is increased. Remember this thing. Which among these is related to the critical clearing time of the fault in the power system? Yes. Yes, tell me. It is your transient stability limit. Which among these cannot be determined from equal area criteria? That is the critical clearing time. And the last question is, what are the common assumptions made for the equal area criteria? That is all of these. All of these. Okay. That is, your mechanical input is to be constant, the speed of the machine and the transmission and line and machine resistances are neglected. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for uh, viewing this uh, section of power system stability studies and power system studies.